what are the best wrestling moments of the decade? In this two part topic, I'm going to be talking about the 10 best wrestling moments of the decade. And starting out now with part one of this, I'm going to be talking about some honorable mentions as well as 10 through 6. So, first is an honorable mention. And these are, I asked you what your favorite moments were. And then I kind of took into consideration weighting them based on certain things. But first is an honorable mention is one of the only high school things that have happened. And I go from high school to college to international. So these are all mixed in, and it'll be fun to talk about. But one of the first things that's happened is back in 2017 when Austin DeSanto beat Spencer Lee in the PIAA finals. Spencer Lee, of course, had that torn ACL. It was a very controversial takedown in the last, if you want to say, 0 seconds. When 0 seconds expired, when time expired, did Austin DeSanto actually have the takedown? Big controversy. This was before Austin DeSanto was a heel, he was a hero. He was a hero beating Spencer Lee, which I don't know why, because Spencer Lee he was never like a loudmouth. He was never a cocky kid. He was always somebody who just went out there, got the job done, and I don't know why everybody was so excited. I mean, they like to see the Giant go down. That's why it was so big, and that's why the Hershey's Giant Stadium erupted whenever Austin DeSanto got his victory. Now they're teammates, so that's interesting. Now, moving on, let's talk about number 10. Number 10, Penn State wins their first national championship in 58 years. This happened in 2011, whenever Quentin Wright was the only national champion out of Penn State that year. Since that time, you see Penn State getting multiple national champions in a year, even back from 2018, whenever they had 5 national champions. But Penn State won their first national championship with 1 national champ. You had guys on the team like Frank Molinaro becoming a 3-time All-American, he actually lost to Cal Dake in the finals. You also had David Taylor, who ended up losing to Bubba Jenkins. This was a big year for Penn State. And before I continue on, I just want to let you know that I want to hear what you have to say are the 10 best ranked moments. Please rank your 10 best moments in the comments below. I want to hear and read all about that. At the number 9 moment is whenever Yanni won his first national championship with a torn ACL, beating Bryce Meredith. This was huge. Okay, this was a big moment in wrestling because we saw the freshman win his first national championship, and I mean, how phenomenal of a wrestler is Yanni? He had a loss earlier in the year to Jaden Ironman. But he beat him at NCAAs. I love to see those losses that he avenged. He overcame that adversity. And he also, at the national tournament, beat two-time national champion Dean Heil. What a great year for Yanni Diakomahalis. And this really pushed Cornell onto the scene. I remember hearing Yanni's name before that season started. Like, this is a guy you need to watch. This is a guy you need to watch. Yeah, that was a guy you needed to watch because he came onto the scene that year. It was also, whenever he faced Bryce Meredith, it was his senior season. It was a little bit upsetting to see Meredith fall after all he's worked for, all he's been going towards after these years. But that's what happened that year, and it was a big year for Yanni and for that year. At number 8, moving on to number 8, this was another national championship whenever Vincenzo Joseph beat Imore. This happened in 2017. 2017, a couple of early losses Vincenzo had on the year. I wouldn't necessarily call it a standout year by any means. I mean, I remember when I was there for his first match at Penn State, and I was like, seeing him go from high school to college, it was a little bit of a tough transition for Vincenzo, but he overcame throughout the season, obviously. He already had a loss to Imar at Big Tens and at the duel, but he ended up beating him in the match. He was beating him before he pinned him. I believe it was like 6-5 or something like that when Vincenzo dug those underhooks like he always dug and just tossed him right onto his back. I mean, I was out of my chair. I thought it was the wildest national finals match. Of course, this is so big because Imar was already... I mean, he was an animal. He was a machine, a 2-time national champion, beating Jason Nolf the year previous and He just pinned in the classic underhooks by Vincenzo Joseph. What a match. At number seven, JB wins his first world title in Istanbul. I believe this was one of the biggest things that has happened in the world of wrestling over the last decade, because since that time, Jordan Burroughs has really become the face of USA wrestling, of international wrestling, really just freestyle wrestling has been Jordan Burroughs, who won that first title in Istanbul immediately following his NCAA finals victory that same year, becoming one of the not lucky, but rare guys who wins a national title and a world title in the same year. It just doesn't happen that often because of Olympic red shirts, because other things going on. So it's impressive that he did. That, and I shouldn't say Olympic title. I meant world title. World title doesn't happen that often. Because of different things going on. But it's impressive that Jordan Burroughs did that. Now, moving on to number 6 is another big world wrestling story whenever Kyle Snyder and so many others wrestled at the Rio Olympics, placing bronze as a team. In 2016. This, of course, was the last. This was the last Olympics in 2016 in Rio, whenever Kyle Snyder beat the guy from Azerbaijan for gold, winning that gold medal. He became the youngest Olympian in wrestling history, the youngest Olympic champion, being only, I believe it was 20 years old, still being in college, which is darn impressive. He was coming off of a big national title run, beating Jake Varner at the Olympic team trials, who was the previous Olympic champion. That was big for him. And he was also the first Buckeye to represent the U.S. at the Olympics in 24 years. This was a big year for Kyle Snyder for the Rio Olympics. And those are the top 10 through 6. Next, I'm going to move on to 5 through 1.